Good morning. Welcome to the Celtic Way Morning Briefing Live. I'm Tony Haggerty at Haggerty10 Twitter handle, and it's Monday, December the 5th. Another happy Monday. I think, Sean, it's a happy Monday. And I'm joined today by, once again, Sean Martin at Sean Martin TCW Twitter handle. Good weekend, Sean?
Aye, until last night, heating wouldn't come on again, Tony. So when they say it's a happy Monday, it's a very, very cold Monday in my house.
Monday. It's not what we're after, is it?
Aye, apart from that, all good.
Good. Now, before we start, we'll just direct you to the ticker tape along the bottom. We've got a new offer again. It's our festive offer. And there you see it. You can join us. Hit that subscribe button, www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe, and you will get 25% off the yearly subscription rate, which comes to £26 with the discount, doesn't it, Sean? And £1 for 2 months of full access to everything that's written on the website and everything that we do on the website. And if you'd have been looking at the website over the weekend, you would have been in for a treat, wouldn't there, Sean?
Certainly would have, yep. A couple of comments on it already, Tony, if you want to get the ball rolling, plugging it a wee bit. But
okay, well, myself and Sean, if you tuned in, you will have noticed that we spoke to Martin O'Neill for a Celtic Way sit-down special, and it was an hour of absolute gold, wasn't it, Sean?
Thoroughly enjoyed it, Tony. I tweeted out last night just saying it whizzed by. It whizzed by, didn't it? The two of us could have sat there for another few hours, but we managed to go over an hour with him, which was slightly longer than planned, but he was very generous with his time. And as I said in the tweet, he kind of was happy to indulge us a wee bit and move away from just Celtic questions. So although primarily that's what we're there to talk to him about, for instance, he let you ask him about Brian Clough, about Spain in '82 with the Northern Ireland squad. Let me ask him about the role of Gaelic football and his upbringing and stuff, and his kind of historic couple of roles with the Northern Ireland as a player and then Republic Island as a manager. So thoroughly enjoyed doing it, and so far from the comments, it seems people have enjoyed listening to it as well.
Helen Feeks, morning all. Great interview yesterday, guys. Thanks very much. In FS's Sunday afternoon, watching the Blessed Martin, what wasn't to like? If ever a man was destined to manage a club, it was himself. Yeah, if you haven't watched it, guys, I urge you to tune in. David Gillespie, morning all. Need to catch up in the Martin Neil interview later. Martin was on plugging his book on days like these, my life in football. And I think if it's anything like that interview, it will be a brilliant read. Kirsty O'Connor, loved it. Andrew Galea, enjoyed the interview. Thanks very much, guys. Really appreciate that. You've probably gathered that myself and Sean derived a lot of personal pleasure just from sitting, talking to a man like that and picking his brains. And just, he was a great sport. He was in sensational form. He's a legend. Indeed, he is. Kaiser, interview was fantastic because I've listened to Martin forever. Such a knowledgeable man, steeped in the kind of wisdom that is very rare. Amazing upload. Thank you, Kaiser.
Much appreciated.
Appreciate that. So
you'll also find out where the name of that book comes from.
Indeed,
part of it.
Indeed, yes. I mean, that was quite interesting, wasn't it? Yeah. Kirsty O'Connor, that's my dad's Christmas present sorted, boys. Yes, indeed. I think a lot of Christmas presents will be sorted there. But there you have it. Now, Sean, quiet weekend in terms of a leather belt. Never is.
Yep.
Alistair Johnston signed on the dotted line. Celtic getting their ducks in a row. Kobayashi's in. Alistair Johnston's in. That's 2 before the transfer window was officially
3. Peter Lawwell's in as well, Tony.
Yes,
we'll come to that later on.
We'll come to that.
Alistair Johnston,
Yeah, and he spoke about, once again, Sean, the magical Ange Postecoglou phone call, which we spoke about last season when transfer targets were asked to come and join the club. There's something in that phone call. I want a phone call from Ange. I really do. I think
I don't know, because if he's phoning a member of the press, Tony, it's probably not going to be good news, is it? But it's becoming their version of the wardrobe, isn't it? Every signing that's made has to talk about the first phone call with Ange Postecoglou. We sit all the time talk about your wardrobe, but I mean, it's only natural, I suppose. But for me, the big thing that was in that release wasn't necessarily the quotes about the phone call. It was the fact that it's yet another guy on a 5-year deal, putting them into the Jota and Haksabanovic bracket 2027.
Yeah,
which is just, again,
security, Sean.
I never actually done it this time. Usually I tweet out a big list, just a big list of all the players that are trying to under contract 2026, 2027. just because it's great reading. I never done it this time, but it's still great reading, and it's very much to the club's credit, I think, that that they continually get these deals tied down to the kind of security that I keep talking about.
Yes, that security thing you mentioned, which I sometimes struggle with, but I know what you mean. Yeah.
Okay.
But he just seemed genuinely delighted to have joined the club, and he certainly, talking about the club and the ambition that Ange sold him and the fact that they're doing well in Europe, all that, he alluded to all that. So, 2 in before the window opens, Sean, are we expecting more?
Sounds like it. Sounds like they're scouring all over the place for people. We'll see, because I don't think there's any mad rush, but at the same time, if an opportunity crops up, look what happened last January. Matt O'Reilly ended up coming in after the original.
Yes.
So, aye, there's diamonds to be found even in January. Patrick McLaughlin saying, well, we'll be announcing our 2024 January signings next September. It's getting earlier every season. Fair enough. There's plenty of names being bandied about, Tony, isn't there? We talked about South Korean striker the other day. There's plenty going about just now. Well, as always, I'm kind of reluctant to pull the trigger on an in-depth scout report until things get firmed up a wee bit. I have now pulled it on Cho. So there'll be something Stuart Ross is going to be doing something on Cho. So keep your eye out for that. But in general terms, this Alistair Johnston signing, when Ange Postecoglou was asked about it, I know we talked about what Alistair Johnston was saying, but what Ange Postecoglou said kind of piqued my interest a wee bit. He kind of said he's keen to come across, take his career to the next level, all that kind of stuff, which you'd expect. But he did reference that kind of character thing again, so he said he would be a great fit in the dressing room before he said that he'd add something to the football team, which kind of changed with what he says to you, Tony, when you were asking him about like a profile for a signing, and he kept coming back to the character, the kind of character that you are, rather than just the kind of footballer you might turn out to be, that kind of thing. He did mention that he's predominantly right side of the defence. He said he's good technically, good going forward, but he did like that he's a good, strong competitor, didn't mind the physical aspects, and that's good, I suppose, when you're coming to Scottish football. So
yes, very much so. Yeah, and again, you highlighted it there. He is big in bringing in the right person, isn't he?
Yeah,
the right fit, the right kind of character, and the right kind of people. So it is his shtick, as they say, but he certainly kept consistent with that, hasn't he? That he doesn't want to bring in somebody that might be, I don't know, kind of disruptive element in that dressing room, because it's quite a harmonious dressing room.
Aye.
From the outside looking in, and all the players get on well. So yeah, I mean, so everything else we got a glimpse of him in the World Cup. We were impressed enough, so we'll see what he brings to the table if he can get a game, Sean. First and foremost.
Well, that's the key, isn't it? That's the key, because he's got 2 people ahead of him in the pecking order for the right back position, and 2 guys. All right, Josip Juranovic, by all accounts, we all kind of agreed that he's been off the boil for a wee bit now in general terms. But Tony Ralston, when he's played, and he has played enough. He's played, what was it, 800 odd minutes, which isn't as much as he'd probably like, but still is a substantial amount of minutes, and he's been fantastic virtually every time he's been on. So it's not going to be easy for Alistair Johnston to get a game.
Indeed, it won't be. You're right. That's if Juranovic is still there come the end of this window. All sorts of speculation about him and others. One of them being Georgios Giakoumakis, Sean, who we talked about the other day when the story broke in one of the papers that there was kind of Celtic and his representatives' valuation of him were poles apart. But Anthony Joseph from Sky put up a tweet over the weekend, and he said, well, actually, Georgios Giakoumakis is perfectly happy at Celtic, and he wants an amicable solution to these contract talks. So we kind of erred on the side of caution in that one, didn't we, Sean? And sort of said there was kind of agent talk driving it, stuff like that. So we didn't go studs up, let's put it that way. We were kind of trying to connect dots. So there seems to be 2 different narratives playing out here, but the truth lieth there somewhere, eh?
Aye. When we were talking about it, and then we wrote the kind of panel article, me, you, and Aidan, about it the other day, giving our own thoughts. None of us really went too far in the direction of thinking, right, this is spot on, he wants out, that kind of thing.
Yes.
It was kind of widely understood that it was a kind of negotiating tactic in a way. I obviously pointed out the other day, I don't really think that negotiating tactic's a wise one, given what Ange Postecoglou said at the AGM about being more aggressive. I dare say that the attitude might have been, rather than, right, here's your extension, here's your rise, it might have been, right, oh, you want to go, right, no bother, we'll find a suitor for you, that kind of thing. But Tony's tweet, that kind of I think is probably more akin to where things will be on a realistic kind of thinking, because nothing that you've seen for Giakoumakis suggests he does want to go. Ange Postecoglou said as long as a player's performing, they'll be in. And I think that's the two things that you're going to need to consider over the next couple of weeks. I don't expect to see him anywhere but at the park for Celtic. So we'll see. And let's not forget, it was Sky Sports as well tweeted out and reported at the start of November, I think it was, that Leo Labada, but also Georgios Giakoumakis was in discussions over a new deal. So the new deal, in terms of there being talks, wasn't new information. The kind of new information part was the supposed or reported development that he wasn't happy and he was willing to go. That was the kind of thing, and we've already agreed that we think that was mostly an agent tactic, that kind of thing. So, so I suppose what I'm saying is I don't think there's anything to really panic about until there's something to panic about, Tony. Is the way I'm taking from it. It also mentioned that Tony Joseph also mentioned that Juranovic, his talks have to resume after he returns from Qatar, which makes sense as well.
Yeah.
You see where you stand with players after that. The Abada thing is I know he never mentioned Abada in that one, but it was mentioned in the same report as Giakoumakis' contract talks back in November. I've not really seen any update on that, Tony. I don't know about you.
No, I haven't.
But his deal is also until 2026, by the way, so no real rush on that either.
Yeah, of course.
But his in particular would be one I would like to see get maybe a wee refresh given his age and his rising stock.
Sure. Now, just want to flick this up. B comes in and says, Tony, the Celtic Museum probably want their 1888 shirt back. Well, actually, it's not a Celtic shirt. It's old school Benetton rugby shirt. For those of you who remember the brand Benetton, indeed, Back to the Future, by old school reference, your old dad there. So there you have it. It's not a Celtic shirt. It's a Benetton rugby shirt. It's green and white colours, but there you have it. It's in the wardrobe, that, so I dug it out today. But there you have it. So, yeah, Sean, I'm as we spoke about the other day, I'm fairly relaxed about the deals for these players because of what you say, the fact that they're on long-term deals. And I was pretty relaxed about Giakoumakis. I did think that at some point they were going to have to come together again. And I made the point that they'll thrash out an amicable solution to this because I don't think any of the parties are particularly unhappy.
No.
So not to my knowledge, and not the way Giakoumakis is, and the way he busts a gut when he plays, and then when he comes on in games if he's a substitute. So yeah, I think there'll be an amicable solution to that, and I don't think Giakoumakis will leave the club in the window. Maybe a bit of sabre rattling by someone.
Potentially, aye. There's a few comments related to the Giakoumakis thing here. Angelo Tyro saying he would like to see Cho still coming in regardless. There's a couple of comments saying if Cho does come in, then does that make it more likely Giakoumakis leaves? But then you've got Michael Ross coming in with a decent comment saying, or a decent thought saying, trying to keep 3 international strikers happy when Ange plays one up front would be difficult, which is a fair point. Tony, I think that is a comment.
That is a fair point, but I still think you need 3.
Well, that's what Andrew Gilly is saying. You need competition for the striker position rather than just 2.
And I think that keeps everybody on their toes and keeps them at the top of their game because they all want to play, don't they? Mm-hmm. So even if they're not playing and they're coming on to make an impact, then they will, as I say, bust their gut to make an impact. So, and I think that has been evident so far.
I think so. I do take his point though, Michael, that if everybody's fit, which is sometimes easier said than done, to be fair, and this is why maybe you do need a third option that's a senior third option. But if everybody's fit, he does play one up front, which means the minutes are going to be sparing. And already so far, you see who's the first choice and who's the second choice. Giakoumakis' minutes aren't a starter's minutes in the sense that he is getting a lot of minutes, but he's not necessarily getting a lot of starts. Kyogo is the first choice when he's fit. Where does a third striker fit into that? Do you know what I mean? And it's all right saying, right, well, Ange will see them in training, and if they take their chance, they'll get their minutes. But Michael's got a point. One striker position with three, it will make it more difficult. It will make it more difficult.
I do take that point on board. Of course it is, and that's how unrest starts and strikers become unhappy, because all they want to do is burst the net and score goals. And if they're not getting a chance to do that, then they can take the nip, and take this, get riled by that and get angry and get upset and maybe go and speak to a newspaper or an agent or whatever, So it's I can understand maybe if Giakoumakis in passing that said something to somebody that he's not getting enough minutes. It's human nature, isn't it?
Cutting Rock saying, isn't the third option striker to bring Rocco Vata on? I wrote about this in just before they were going to Sydney, that it was the Sydney Super Cup might have been a decent chance for Rocco Vata, not in terms of the games themselves were overly important or anything, but to put himself in, as Postecoglou was thinking, with what game time he did get, but also with being away with the first team. These players, he's mentioned before, the B team fill in and come and train with the first team as it is. So these guys do get a chance to improve, to kind of prove themselves to Ange Postecoglou. But what I would say is the third option is to bring Rocco Vata on only is an option if he's in the matchday squad for the senior team. That's not always the case. That then throws up, I suppose, Tony, a debate about the strength of the bench, because there is a lot of options on the bench.
Yeah.
A lot of them being midfield options, but usually one of Giakoumakis or Kyogo will be on the bench as well. And Andrew Galea came in with a comment at the side saying 2 strikers get game time. That's true. 16-30 though, 65-25. That only really suits one, you would say.
Of course. Yeah. That suits the starting striker, doesn't it? To be fair, that's not be about the bush with that one. That's fair enough. But no, I like Rocco Vata from what
really.
And I wouldn't be averse to that, but I still think if we bring in another striker, then a lot of Celtic supporters would be very happy in that in the window. So that remains to be seen, and it also remains to be seen if Cho will come with heavy links. You say hold off on the.
Yep, as I say, Stuart's going to be filing something. Might be the day, might be the morning it goes up, but he'll be filing something. And as always with Stuart, it'll be in depth. It'll be considering how well he'll fit, how well he might fit, how well he should fit, what he's done so far, and the kind of player profile he could bring. So keep your eyes peeled for that.
Now, one of you of Sean and Aidan's going to be right today, Sean.
Yep.
The furthest Celt in the tournament. Sadly, Aaron Moy and Cameron Carter-Vickers bit the dust with America and Australia both going out. So today it's Croatia, Japan, and Dyson Maeda or Josip Juranovic is guaranteed to be in the last 8 of the World Cup, and we applaud them for that, and we wish them both well. Remind us who you've got, Sean. Dyson Maeda?
Yes, as I often do, I've thrown my lot in with Dyson Maeda. Listen, at the end of the day, I'll be happy for either of them that gets to the quarterfinals, obviously, but for purposes of me being right in that predictor, where there's so many wrong answers, I must say, then I'm throwing my lot in with Maeda again.
My predictor's gone in the bin, to be fair, so we'll just leave that there.
Yeah. As you say about Tony, over the weekend, Aaron Moy went out. Another good display from Australia, another fighting display from Australia, I would say, because I was kind of talking to you about this at the weekend. That it's a completely different type of game that you're playing well in, if you know what I mean, than Celtic compared to Australia. But they have been playing well. They have done themselves a credit. Sad to see them go home, but they've come out to it with many new fans. I think they've come out with a lot of plaudits, certainly. And
they didn't lose to any ordinary national side, did they?
No, they didn't. No, they lost to a Messi-inspired Argentina, which is no shame.
A Messi-inspired Argentina who could go all the way.
Could go. I still think they're going to need to improve slightly.
Yeah, so do I.
But I do think with Messi in your ranks, you've got every chance. But yep, Aaron Moy has enjoyed a very good World Cup, Tony, I would say.
Oh, it has
Cameron
indeed,
Carter-Vickers, on the other hand, went out on Saturday despite not being picked to play from the start for America for the second game running, or would have been a second start running. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
America went out, but nonetheless, he's one game that he did play. He played really well in. He got into the squad, which when he first came to Celtic was part of the kind of longer term plan. That came to fruition. He's going to be in the thinking, I think, more and more rather than less and less, despite the fact he only played one game at this World Cup, Tony.
Without a doubt, and he played a very good game, and he'll be all the better for the experience of just taking it all in and being part of that. Players learn, don't they? You learn playing against the best players in the world at any level. So I think he'll return refreshed and he'll be raring to go. I would have thought Cameron Carter-Vickers, and he'll have enjoyed the experience. He'll have wanted more game time, of course, but again, I think USA are also a national team that are building.
And I think they're on the up, yep.
Yeah, and there'll be other tournaments for them in the future, and I'm sure Cameron Carter-Vickers will be part of it. He's got a wee taste for it. He'll want more, and if he wants more, then he'll keep constantly bringing his A game, which is good for Celtic moving forward.
Yep, it was the Netherlands that went through instead, Tony, meaning Jeremy Frimpong, who still isn't getting a game either, but Jeremy Frimpong lasts another few days at least for those partial FIFA payments.
Yes.
Speaking of which, by the way, Olivier Cham came off the bench on Friday when Cameroon beat Brazil. Did you notice that?
I didn't.
Fair play to him. I mean, they went out anyway, which beating Brazil and going out must have been quite a hard one to take, but they went out anyway, mind you, so no further dosh from him. But as I said last week, and I'll try and post a link again to it, but I retweeted it the other day as well. They are on to make a few extra bob because 4 of their own players, Celtic, got through the knockout stages, but also Frimpong got through as well. So, as I say, it's not quite as easy as I see. Still to this day, still 3 weeks or 2 weeks into the tournament, still seeing a lot of this is how much Celtic are making, and just totally not reading past the first line, which says $10,000 per player per day, and then just not reading any of the caveats. It's not quite as much as some information articles will lead you to believe, but nonetheless, it's still. If you said every little helps last week, that's still my view on it. It's still an extra in the coffers. So
this is bonus money for Celtic, isn't it? The fact that they've got so many representatives there, and they're playing and doing well, or at least coming on and making appearances. So I think it's just wonderful the fact that they've got so many with the link and the connection, and also first team players.
I mean, you get the partial payment for Frimpong, but you'll get another full. Well, not actually full because they've been. I'm just victim of my own logic there. Not actually a full payment because although they're Celtic players, they've not been at Celtic for the last 2 years. So either of Juranovic or Maeda will still get you more money later on. For at least an extra few days now, depending on what one goes through tonight. But you never know after that. One of them could still be in it.
Of course. Listen, would you bet against any of them going further?
Well, Croatia were finalists the last time, so you definitely cannot bet against them. I have bet against them by saying Maeda should go through, but one of them, once you get to that stage of quarterfinals, you just never know. You never know. So, we'll see.
Indeed. Now, we talked about it earlier, and we'll address it now. Mr. Lawwell returned.
Yep.
On Friday, Sean.
Yes.
Indeed. So, what's your... Go on, non-executive.
I was just going to say, I returned. They announced that very quietly, I would say. But non-executive chairman. He's sorry, I got a message here. Non-executive chairman. Yep. Theoretically, Tony. That role was almost a conduit between the chief executive and the board in terms of taking what the CEO is implementing and then presenting it to the board rather than necessarily running things himself. The questions about the recruitment process are fair ones, I would say. You'll know what I'm talking about. There's been the discourse is what was the process for reappointing a former director, that kind of thing. The fact that it comes just weeks after the AGM in particular, I think these are all fair questions. there is, Tony, no kind of legal distinction between a non-executive director and an executive one when it comes to Companies House and the way that they're registered. So in practice, we'll need to see how things play out in that regard. What I will say is, and I mean, I don't know if you agree with this or not, but what I will say is Peter Lawwell's role in the financial stabilisation of the club might be unsexy, but it was pivotal. I think you need to be fair with these things. There's a reason that Arsenal were once chasing him. He signed off on keeping big players on an extra season to go for 10 in a row, so it didn't work out. You can't exactly level that criticism at him because he did keep them on. Where a lot of fans, and again, Tony, you might disagree with this, but where a lot of fans that I spoke to are particularly discouraged by it is kind of the perceived indifference of the club towards fan protest during that COVID season, and then hanging on to Neil Lennon a bit too long and going for 10 in a row. That I would say is a trust that is quite hard for people to win back. So that, on top of the fact that there's a perception of maybe undue transfer haggling, he got that reputation, not pulling the trigger on some key deals at key times. That's obviously always been a criticism, but the way that I'm looking at it, questions about recruitment aside, is that given there's not been a problem with Michael Nicholson at the helm in those arenas so far, I suspect it shouldn't mean that there's one created going forward now either, and we'll need to just see how it plays out in the next few months.
I think most Celtic fans want them to remain hands off, don't they?
Yeah,
and
I would think
the
so.
non-executive part of that being stressed, and as you say, moving forward, we will see what his involvement is. I've always been happy for Peter to lobby UEFA and be a voice for Celtic in the corridors of power at European football. I've always been very happy with him in that because he has a powerful voice. They do listen to him, and as you say, he has done a lot of good things at Celtic, and I think that's one of them, that they were always involved in top level discussion about where European football was headed. And I still think he's got a vital role to play in that. I think now, I think if he was to get involved with Michael Nicholson and Ange and all that and muddy the waters and stuff, I think the Celtic fans would find that pretty unpalatable. I just think that the non-executive role, as long as it stays like that, I think the fans will be okay. They'll be wary of it, but they'll accept that as long as the things still rolling along the way they said, the way you've just alluded to there.
To kind of put the focus back on the guy actually in the role. Not, I was going to say the role that matters because they all matter, and there's no getting away from the fact that Peter Lawwell used to be the chief executive, is now going into non-exec chairman territory. But Michael Nicholson, so far, I don't think you'll find anybody that's not been happy with Michael Nicholson since he got the role on a full-time basis. You can ask questions maybe about the club's silence on the Bernard Higgins thing in terms of engaging with fans. That was when he was just the interim chairman. Since he has got that role, transfer windows especially, Tony, but generally the way that they're going about their business of getting people in key positions within the club as well, I don't think you'll find anybody that's really genuinely got a criticism of Michael Nicholson so far. So with that in mind, again, the recruitment process and stuff about Peter Lawwell's return as a non-exec chairman aside, but in terms of how much power will he wield, I think you're almost doing Michael Nicholson a disservice because as chief executive, he's done a really good job so far, and I don't see a suggestion that will change.
Yeah, correct. And I think he has to be lauded for the job that he's done so far. And again, we go back to it, we keep talking about, and Ange talks about it as well, that Celtic are finally acting like a big club. And we've seen instances of that over the past couple of transfer windows with Michael Nicholson there and the manager there. And, you know, he used his FS, says it was a good point because Ange used these words himself. Guys are saying in business telling all's a powerhouse and the halls of FIFA and UEFA. That's what I was saying as well. And I think he's good for Celtic in that respect. FS says Celtic are being agile and aggressive in the market. Happy to see how it goes. Well, that's the terms that Ange used. And I think everybody's happy to see the way Celtic are progressing. We just need to wait and see what happens with Lawwell's return, Sean. I think to wildly speculate about this, that, and the next thing is exactly that. It's wild speculation. We will see what happens, and we will see what the man, how the man performs in the role that he's been given. People might not like it, but Peter Lawwell has returned as non-executive chairman, and we wait and see what happens. what happens moving forward. But it ain't broke at the minute, Sean, in terms of the CEO and the manager and all the stuff that's happening at the club just now. So I'm working on that premise myself. That if it ain't broke, it doesn't need fixed.
Yep. Okay, though. There's a few comments coming in, Tony.
Go on.
Some very sensible comments, to be honest. Kaiser, for instance, establish a fair exchange of views with fans and the board. I think that makes sense. That's always made sense. The club, to be fair to them, has made kind of strides into engaging with fans, mostly the fan media side, rather than what I would call kind of a normal fan forum type thing. But nonetheless, that's to be lauded. There's plenty of comments coming in just basically saying what you said, that they'd like to see Peter Lawwell remain kind of hands off, even though he's in this new role.
Yeah.
I'll just say it again. I just think I'll try concentrating the Michael Nicholson aspect. He has been doing a very good job as chief executive so far, and I don't see a reason that will change if everything else remains equal, even with Peter Lawwell's return.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that's a fair comment. To be fair, now another subject matter, Sean, that came up this morning was Kyogo did an interview.
Yep.
He was talking about his ambition and the fact that he didn't get called up for Japan, but he says he's still driven to win as many trophies as he can for Celtic and score as many goals as he can, which is good to know.
It was good to know. The interview was on The Athletic with erstwhile Celtic Way columnist Owen Brown. Actually, it was a decent read. I'm going to pick one quote out for you, Tony, and you'll know right away. You'll be able to know right away why I've picked this one, and amongst the other kind of stuff about just want to keep scoring and playing, etc., etc. This quote is Kyogo. He says, during our attacking phase or at throw-ins, we don't want to get into resting mode. We stay in active mode. And if we keep our intensity high, it will be difficult for our opponent to stay focused for 90 minutes. My goal of the season, Tony, last term, remember? Pittodrie, chest finish from the quick throw-in. He scored some belters right before and since, but that's still up there for me. And I don't need to tell you, and I probably don't need to tell everybody else listening because I went on about it before, but as I wrote about last year, it's not necessarily the finish itself or even the movement for the goal part, but even just before it, when he's raring to go into that box in case Turnbull takes the throw on even quicker than he does. And it just stuck out to me, that bit that he's still talking about the kind of even at throw-ins, he doesn't want to switch off. And I think Kyogo, more than anybody else, doesn't switch off in that scenario. I know you're not meant to. None of the rest of the players are meant to be switching off, but I think Kyogo's still that wee split second faster than the rest in terms of identifying where even a throw-in can become a scoring opportunity. And that Aberdeen goal, or the goal against Aberdeen, at Pittodrie, in the immediate kind of phase preceding it. I mean, it was a very quick throw. It was already a quick throw.
Yeah.
But if he didn't bounce the ball and catch it first, if he just took the throw in before he bounced it, Kyogo was already seen it. He was already willing to go into that box. And all right, he still took a quick throw and he crossed it in it and he got it anyway. But it's that wee bit stuck out to me just because of the throw in mention.
Also think as well, most people will go back to his 2 goals in the League Cup final.
Yeah.
He was switched on for both finishes. The equaliser less than a minute before after Hibs had taken the lead, made the run and buried it, and just things like that. But I know I said it was good to know in terms of the fact that he's motivated. I just meant in terms of that he never spoke about his disappointment about being omitted from the Japanese squad. He didn't dwell on it.
Yeah,
he said it's motivation to make him perform better at club level, and that's what I like, Sean. There was no moping. He said he hadn't really seen Dyson Media. He congratulated him, and he said his focus was on the next Celtic game, which was obviously not for a while. So
I think the interview was from before the World Cup, but I agree with you. I think it's a great attitude to have. It doesn't surprise you really when you see the kind of player that he is and stuff, but he did kind of hint at his future plans being retiring sometime after he's 35. He might play longer than that, depends how he feels, but he's certainly going to get to 35, he said, and then see how he feels. Now, don't get me wrong, he's fleet of foot, he is quick, but primarily he's cerebral, is the word I would use to describe him. So is a very clever player with his movement. There's no reason, touch wood, fitness, serious injury aside, there's no reason you can't see him playing as long as he wants to in terms of that being his main selling point.
Both Kyogo and Maeda are just defensive pests. Pests for defences. The defence is nightmare because they never let up. They don't switch off, as you say. They're constantly on the move. You lose count of the number of times Kyogo makes runs, and it takes a special player to find them, i.e. a Jota, a Matt O'Reilly, a Callum McGregor, somebody who is in tune with that. But he never stops running. He never stops trying to make angles and receive a pass or to go through and goal. And I go back to the Livingston goal with the inverted fullback and Greg Taylor pushed forward and he just made a run. And it wasn't, I would say it was a half chance, but he buried it. Well, got it out his feet and he buried it because he created space because of his quick thinking. Again, same type of goal that you talk about with the chest at Patoji. It's the quick movement, it's the quick thinking. He's on the move. As soon as Taylor got the ball, he was on the move, offering him something through the lines. And that's what
Livingston goal, the Livingston goal.
That's what I like about Kyogo. He's always looking, scanning, and as I say, he'll always make runs. He might not always get the ball, but he's always thinking, playing on the shoulder of the last defender and trying to create that bit of space. And when you've got a player like that, then I think that the more and more players that can tune into it in your midfield and your defence, then they realise what an asset he is.
Going to put that up, Tony. Would you? Is that unfair? Brown Warrior saying, "Aye, but he done nothing in Europe." He didn't score. That much is a fact. He didn't score, and they should have scored. Just when you look at his expected goals and stuff, he had good enough chances to score. But overall, Tony, do you think he done nothing in Europe, or was his performances maybe decent enough without hitting the target?
I think his performances were decent enough without hitting the target. But go back to the manager said this group of players are playing for the first time at that level. So you have to adapt. You have to, you can't just throw them in and say, right, perform, because you're taking a step up in class in terms of the opposition you're playing. Yeah, Celtic had high hopes in the group, but it quickly became apparent that every team in that group was decent and of a standard where you were in a game. And I don't think for a minute that Kyogo will be happy with his own personal performance and not scoring in the Champions League. So I guess going back to his comments, I think that remains a motivator to get back and show what he maybe didn't show in the first year of playing in the Champions League. But, the managers told everybody that this was a lot of guys, this was their first crack at playing at that level. And in order to become better players and improve at that level, then you have to do it on a repeated basis. So I would rather judge a lot of these same players next season if they're fortunate enough or they qualify again for the group stages of the Champions League. So everything else, that was the unknown for Celtic first time around at that level. If you keep that core and nucleus of players and they win the title again and they go straight back in at the end of next season, then I'll appraise them more in terms of what they should bring to the table this time round.
Yeah. I don't know if your dog is disagreeing with you or agreeing with you, Tony, but
it's going absolutely tonto because somebody's walked by the window downstairs.
Don't get me wrong, I know that feeling. Mine's is up the stairs. So I think, Tony, we've went for nearly a full half of football here. But keep in mind that, what did we say earlier on? Martin O'Neill, there is that's on the channel. There's several Martin O'Neill pieces on the website for you to enjoy. There's also James Daly has done an analysis of kind of a few things. He's got a concept, James, it's expected trophies. I kind of play on words to do with expected goals and stuff, but it looks at a combination of off-field and on-field stuff. So staffing cost, wage bill, relative to performance and stuff. And he's kind of revisited that and looked at basically how far does Celtic wage bill guarantee success, which is an interesting kind of study. That's on the website today. There'll be another couple of things up later this afternoon. Newsletter will be going out. As I say, keep your eyes peeled for Stuart Ross's article on Cho. And we've got plenty of stuff coming, Tony, plenty of stuff.
Indeed, yes. The Martin O'Neill stuff, if you haven't read all the stuff on the website. I encourage you to do so. If you haven't watched the interview, watch it. It's brilliant. It's a great way to spend an hour. Sean's just put the link there. We're more than just a podcast, indeed. And the ticker tape running along the bottom tells you that. You subscribe to the Celtic Way festive offer. It sees you get 25% off the yearly rate, which takes that to £26, which is a good deal in itself. But if you subscribe, you can get £1. It's just £1 for 2 months of full access for everything that's written on the website. And all you have to do is hit that subscribe button, which we urge you to do every day, www.celticway.co.uk/subscribe. We thank everybody that's done that already. We enjoy the toing and froing and the chat in the comment section every day. We try our best to flick up as many comments and have a debate around them as possible. But it's a wonderful wee community that we have built up here, Sean, and we just take that. We're pretty humbled by it, to be fair, but it's just wonderful every day waking up, talking about Celtic and everybody getting involved and having their own say. And we don't take ourselves that seriously either, do we, Sean? Or we try not
Only
to.
seriously as we need to take ourselves, Tony.
We try not to. Indeed. Guys, have a happy Monday. Thank you, Andrew. Appreciate that. We'll do it all again tomorrow, but somebody's going to be right, Sean, between you and Aidan. Dyson or Josip. Yes, Dyson or Josip's going through to the quarter-final of the World Cup. Good luck to the both of them. Hope you enjoy that game as well, guys, if you're tuning in to watch that. Hope you enjoy the Martin O'Neill interview if you watched that. And if you've watched it already, thanks very much. We appreciate that. But also log on to the website and read the articles as well, because they're great. All right. Take care. Thank you, Sean, for your opinions and comments as well. Always first class. Appreciate it. Take care.
Cheers, Tony. Cheers, guys.